Welcome. Today we're exploring a specific place, Menomonie, downtown Wisconsin.
Yes, and we're working from a few different angles here. We've got city economic plans, a local event calendar, some background on the Wisconsin Main Street program.
And also a really detailed campus development plan for UW Stout, which is, well, it's right there downtown.
Right, so the idea is to pull all these threads together.
Yeah, weave together the strategies, the day-to-day life, and sort of the institutional presence to give you, the listener, a real feel for Menomonie downtown, especially if you haven't been there.
Understand what makes it tick, essentially.
Okay, so maybe the best place to start is with the framework. One of the sources really lays out this idea of downtown revitalization, specifically the Wisconsin Main Street program approach.
That's a good starting point.
Yeah.
It actually comes from a national initiative. The National Trust for Historic Preservation kicked off the National Main Street Center way back in 1980.
And Wisconsin adopted that philosophy for its own program in '87.
Pretty much, yeah. The core idea is interesting. It's not just about preserving old buildings, though that's key. It's about combining that historic preservation with, standard development tools.
Like what sort of tools?
Well, marketing the downtown, actively recruiting businesses, developing real estate, analyzing the market, making public improvements, roads, sidewalks, that kind of thing.
So a mix of history and business strategy.
Exactly. And what really comes through is that it's not presented as some magic bullet. The program emphasizes this is gradual, incremental work. No quick fixes.
It takes sustained effort. And
Yeah.
this often follows a specific structure, the four-point approach.
Correct. Point one is organization. This is about building the foundation, getting broad community buy-in.
So bringing together different groups.
Yeah, civic organizations, merchants, bankers, residents, city officials, the Chamber of Commerce, everyone who has a stake.
Yeah.
It involves volunteers, fundraising, getting the word out, building cooperation.
Okay, makes sense. What's the second point?
Promotion. This is about creating buzz, building a positive, unified image for the downtown.
Marketing it, basically.
Right. Image campaigns, holding special events, retail promotions, tourism pushes, anything to draw people in, shoppers, potential investors, visitors. You want foot traffic, sales, good press, maybe raise some funds.
Got it. Third point.
Design. This focuses on the physical side, improving the look and feel, the vitality of the downtown.
So preserving that historic character we mentioned.
Yes, that's central. But also educating property owners about good design, encouraging building upgrades, working on public spaces like parks or streetscapes, helping with signage, even visual merchandising in shop windows, advocating for preservation-minded planning.
So it looks better, feels better, and becomes more attractive for businesses.
Precisely. It enhances the image and makes properties more marketable.
And the final point.
Economic restructuring. This is about understanding the local economy, the market forces, to develop sustainable, long-term solutions.
How does that work in practice?
It means supporting the businesses already there, recruiting new ones that fit well, finding new economically viable uses for historic buildings, maybe setting up financial incentives or support programs.
The aim being a healthier mix of businesses, a stronger tax base, and more confidence from investors.
Exactly. You want to fill those storefronts and make the downtown economically robust.
And there are principles guiding these 4 points too, right? Things like being comprehensive, incremental, focusing on quality.
Yeah, public-private partnerships are key. Changing attitudes, building on existing assets, not trying to be something you're not encouraging self-help, and being action-oriented. It's a whole philosophy.
The results cited seem pretty significant, at least for that earlier period, 1988 to 2010.
They are. Over $1 billion in reinvestment across participating communities in Wisconsin, thousands of jobs, thousands of new businesses. It suggests the model can work.
And it generates economic returns in various ways.
Right. The idea is that restored buildings increase property values, so more property tax. Successful businesses mean more sales tax. New jobs mean more income tax. Lower vacancy rates are obviously good. Higher demand can mean increased rents per square foot.
Plus, that multiplier effect, money spent locally stays local longer.
Yeah, and more generally, successful promotions bring in more people, which hopefully translates into more sales.
And there's a concrete Menomonie example mentioned, something about design standards.
Yes, the economic development source mentions Menomonie developing specific design standards for new businesses, covering the building itself, landscaping, even parking lots.
So that directly applies the design principle from the Main Street approach to local regulations.
Absolutely. It's taking the philosophy and making it a tangible rule for development.
Okay, so that's the strategic layer. But what about the actual, vibe downtown? The event calendar gives us a peek into that.
It really does. And just glancing through it, what jumps out is the sheer amount and the variety of things happening. It suggests a pretty active downtown.
Yeah, you see regular stuff like Menomonie in motion, running and walking groups, and spring story time at the library.
And free yoga. That's interesting. A library and Mayo Clinic partnership. That's a nice community connection.
Definitely. There's also a focus on arts and culture. UW Stout Student Design showcases like a year in design or sanctuary.
Exploring different themes, personal, cultural. Looks like there are artist exhibitions, too.
And plenty of music and entertainment. Mentions of the Double Stops, a speakeasy soiree at a place called 6th Avenue Cidery.
Trivia night at the Spirit Room. A sea shanty sing-long, which sounds fun. Movie nights at the Maple Tainter. Concerts to individuals like Chris Harridge's, groups like Seven Swing.
It feels like they're using different venues actively. The Cidery, the Spirit Room at the Maple Tainter.
Yeah, spreading the activity around. And it's not just performances. There are community events like Designer Purse Bingo.
Yeah. And the Summer Farmers Market is prominent. Seems like it's been at the Wilson Farmers Market Pavilion for a while now, Wednesdays and Saturdays.
That's a classic downtown anchor.
Yeah.
Plus things like a car show and craft swap meet, a pancake breakfast linked to a community museum.
There's even a UW Stout conference listed, Design Wisconsin 2025.
So, taken together, this list really paints a picture of a downtown that's not just planned, but lived in. It's a hub.
It connects back to those Main Street points, doesn't it? Promotion, getting people downtown, organization, different groups putting these on.
Absolutely. It's where the strategy meets the street-level activity. Shows it's not just buildings, there's life there.
Okay, let's shift focus again to that major presence we mentioned, UW Stout. The campus development plan gives us a lot of insight into the university's role downtown.
It does. First off, its location is key. It's in Downtown Menomonie, not adjacent to it. Integrated.
And it has a unique mission, right? Focused on professional careers.
Yeah, very much about blending theory and practice, hands-on learning, experimentation, technology, science, art, business, human services. It aims to meet current economic and societal needs, produce graduates who can, solve problems, make ideas real.
The source even mentions its history of innovation, like being early with a comprehensive laptop program for all students.
Right. And physically, this mission shapes the campus. It's described as laboratory intensive. Half the instruction happens in labs.
Which creates challenges, I imagine.
Big time. The source notes the constant rapid need to update those labs because technology changes so fast. Plus, it mentions their general classrooms were often too small or not set up well for modern teaching styles.
And being downtown means space is tight, right? For
Right.
expansion, parking, green space.
Definitely. Limited open space is a major constraint mentioned in their planning.
So they had specific plans for development, particularly the North Campus.
Yes. Plans included replacing older student housing. The JTC complex is mentioned specifically, updating dining halls, adding parking, creating more recreation space up there.
Trying to create a specific feel for that area.
It's sort of a North Campus identity. The plan describes it as an innovative community, maybe geared more towards upper-level students, with housing and programs to match. Looking back at the specific projects listed in that plan covering roughly 2005 to 2011, there was a lot of focus on tackling aging buildings and outdated facilities.
Like which ones?
Work on the Jarvis Science Wing, extensive work on Hargy Hall, the theater, but also basic infrastructure like HVAC, electrical, upgrades to Price Commons Dining, Hovlet Hall, Wigan and Fleming Halls, remodeling the old home economics building into a lifespan center, work on communication technologies, Bowman Hall.
Sounds like a major overhaul phase. The source mentioned how old many buildings were.
Yeah, at the time of that report, over 75% were 30 years old or more. And they detailed serious issues, aging HVAC, inadequate electrical service, particularly in Harvey Hall and JTC, plumbing problems, old water lines.
On top of basic maintenance like sidewalks and curbs.
Right, and specific building issues, leaky roofs, deteriorating walls and windows, security concerns with doors, accessibility problems needing upgrades for restrooms, entrances, curb cuts, a lot of deferred maintenance, it sounds like.
So fixing buildings was a priority. What about the spaces between the buildings? The campus environment?
That was part of the plan, too. Things like ensuring walkways are well lit, creating pleasant community spaces, Green areas, benches, bike racks, developing outdoor recreation spots like the existing complex, and planning new ones for the North Campus.
And working with the city on things like pathways.
Yeah, improving pedestrian walkways, bike paths. They mentioned cooperation with the city, specifically on a project involving a closed section of 3rd Street East, enhancing it for pedestrians. Safety and lighting reviews, groundskeeping plans, all part of it.
Getting around must be tricky, being right in the city grid.
It's noted as a challenge, so efforts focused on improving pedestrian flow, adding sidewalks. That 3rd Street project is an example of collaborating with the city. Parking is, of course, a constant planning issue driven by demand and city ordinances.
And the university isn't just inward-looking, is it? There's outreach mentioned.
Right. Through something called Stout Solutions. That's their arm for connecting with the community, offering distance learning, customized training, leveraging faculty expertise. Applied research is big, too, through institutes focused on technology transfer and vocational rehabilitation.
Practical application seems to be the theme. And then they use some historic buildings, too.
Yes, the Louis Smith Tinker House is mentioned, a historic building used for their foundation and alumni offices, although the plan did note some challenges with access and space constraints there.
Okay, so let's try to pull these different pieces together now. We have the Main Street strategy providing a kind of roadmap.
The event calendar showing the current pulse, the activity.
And UW Stout as this huge physical and institutional anchor right in the middle of it all.
And Stout's own plans, even just maintaining and upgrading its campus, directly shape the downtown environment, don't they? Well, the appearance of those buildings matters. The sheer number of students and staff moving around affects foot traffic and local businesses. Events held on campus draw people in. The services Stout offers contribute to the community fabric. It's all interconnected.
It really highlights that blend you see in many downtowns, the effort to preserve history, like with the Main Street design focus or caring for the Tainter House.
Mixed with the push for modern development, new university facilities, those design standards for new businesses, and just the constant energy from all the events.
That dynamic interaction between the planned revitalization, the spontaneous community life, and the weight of a big institution like the university, that seems to be what really crafts the character of a place like Menomonie downtown.
It really does. Not just one thing, is it? It's the combination.
So we've touched on the strategic planning for revitalization, the vibrant event scene, and the deep integration of UW Stout.
It gives you a multi-layered view, so maybe something for you, the listener, to think about. When you experience a downtown that feels really alive and interesting, what balance do you perceive? How much comes from deliberate city planning? How much from the energy of events and local culture? And how much from the presence of major institutions like a university or hospital? What mixture creates that special spark?